Today we're going to explore a quote from John Wayne. Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyways. Take the first step. That's the only way you're moving. I think one of the greatest gifts that comes from shooting these episodes is the conversations that I have with my producer, Jerry, while we're doing them. We were talking about courage and how, for most of us, myself included, when I think of courage, I think of the grand acts of overcoming fear. You know, the big fears. Those are actually the easy ones to overcome. Jerry suggested that I talk about something that many of us overlook, which are the smaller fears that we face, where we really have to summon up courage. And, well, let me give a little bit of backstory here first. I think one of the challenges, one of the reasons that we put so much value on the big things that people overcome is because courage is about facing fear. Fear, broken down as an analogy that many people use, or an acronym, is, false evidence appearing real. And we build it up into so much more than what it really is, that when we actually face it and we get to the other side, we go, that was no big deal. And as Jerry and I were talking about it, he was asking me, okay, what's a smaller thing that you had to overcome, that you needed to summon courage for? And I'll tell you, I had a really, really hard time coming up with some small thing, because I've conditioned myself over time that these things I have overcome, these fears that I faced, are no big deal. Now, the big fears I could sit here and spew out one after the other. And I guess this really is something that we all need to focus on, is that it's the little things that stop us so often. One of the fears that I did come up with as we were talking about this example was, I spent a couple of years developing a software with a business partner. We put a lot of money, a lot of effort into it. And the fear I'm still dealing with is on pulling the plug on the software, because there were some glitches that came out with the releases of Vista, for those of you who are PC users, that affected the software. But we've been trying to keep it going and trying to keep it going. And the fear that I'm facing is the fear of failing, because of all the money that we put into it and all of the time that we put into it and the energy into it. And the thing that I simply need to do is make a decision. Is this serving us? Is it costing us money? Is it going to work? Is it going to go somewhere? It's summoning the courage to be able to say that the past actually 4 years, there were 2 years in development and 2 years that we've been struggling with the Vista issue. Is it okay for me to let those 4 years go? Courage can be something as simple as picking up the phone to make a phone call to a client or a relative or somebody you just haven't spoken to for a really, really long time, because you're scared of how they're going to react. We can be scared to death of the simplest thing, but it's really the matter of saddling up anyways and doing it. And I think the biggest thing that we really need to focus on is patting ourselves on the back, taking the credit for it, celebrating it when we do take the steps to overcome that fear. Because, it does take courage to make that call, to make that decision. You don't have to be running into a burning building to be courageous, and God bless those that have that courage. But when we take fears and we blow them so out of proportion where they paralyze us, and we finally make that decision to step up and do what we need to do and overcome it, I think we really need to give ourselves credit, because I am just as guilty. Like I said, Jerry asked me about the smaller things, and I have shrugged off so many of those smaller things that I've overcome. Phone calls that I was scared to death to make, whether it was legal phone calls, taxes, child support, sales calls. We stepped up and we did them. And I think if we really reaffirm that for ourselves, that we do saddle up and we do succeed, that it really will make saddling up the next time a lot easier. So I'm taking a lot from this episode and learning from myself, and being grateful for the partnership that I have with Jerry in doing these things. And I want to ask you to take a moment right now and think about, not the big ones. The big ones are easy to remember, but think of some of the smaller areas of your life where you really had to summon courage, and write them down. Remember, take pride in the fact that you overcame those fears. Journal about it. Take that outside perception to see that you really pulled some resources that you didn't have before, and keep those resources in your toolkit, and they'll help you out the next time. I look forward to joining you again soon. Take care.